you headline stories throughout the day right here on the channel, but for now let's bring you this story. German prosecutors say they are ready to charge former Steinhoff executives after their probe in the international conglomerate's fraud scandal. The criminal investigation into Steinhoff has been ongoing since 2015, when the company moved its listing from the Johannesburg Stock Exchange to the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. Now, in 2017, the company's share price plummeted on the discovery of bogus transactions that inflated profits and assets by 6.5 billion euros. Now, James Brent-Styan, he's the author of the book Steinhoff, Inside SA's Biggest Corporate Crash, joins us now for more on the story. And James, you've been a regular on the show as the very slow and incremental steps have been taken to bring those at Steinhoff responsible to book. Are you heartened by what German authorities and investigators are saying now?
Good morning, Michelle. Look, any progress is always welcome. It's now been more than 3 years, and we haven't seen any of the authorities do much. So any progress must be welcomed, of course.
Yeah. I mean, do we have any idea at this stage who the people are that they are supposedly closing in on?
No, we don't.
Yeah.
We don't. We might hear a bit more today. I hope we will, but the Germans are keeping their cards very close to their chest. But to be honest, I'm not expecting that it's going to be the people that we think that we know best, the people that we think should be nailed first. For example, Mr. Marcus Jooste, I don't expect to see his name on that list, and it's quite simple. I think that. And I'm saying that I'm speculating. I mean, I don't know. It's very likely that his name is on that list. The point being that the German Steinhoff was listed in Germany. So the company is obviously being investigated for German-related crimes. There's a number of German executives that are being investigated. So this might very well be German-based executives that are being investigated and named, who were part of whatever crimes might have been committed in Germany. So that's what I'm thinking we're going to see here.
Let's say, for example, James, Marcus Jooste is on this list by German investigators. Would that mean that he may well be extradited?
Michelle, ask yourself that question. Do you think the South African government can afford to let a white guy who's been accused of the biggest corporate crime in this country's history, to be sent to another country to be tried for his crimes? I don't see this country extraditing anyone anywhere, which is why Mr. Jooste is still swanning around the winelands having the time of his life, because frankly he's not in fear of being arrested anytime soon, in my view.
Yeah. Look, let's talk about that. The fact that, as you say, he is swanning around in the winelands with no fear of being arrested. What does that say about our own ability in South Africa to prosecute, to investigate and to prosecute a crime of this nature?
Look, there's nothing that I can tell you or the viewers that we aren't aware of already, so I'm just going to depress you even further. But as a reminder, at the last time I checked, the only entity able to investigate a highly complex corporate white-collar crime like Steinhoff is the police's priority crimes unit or specialized crimes unit, the Hawks. They're the only ones with the supposed capacity and ability to track international transactions and do computer analysis and that kind of very complex stuff. It's not with respect, it's not just a normal beat cop who can investigate a complex matter like this. And then the Hawks have a commercial crimes unit, which is even more specialized, or supposed to be. Now, the last time that I checked, and granted this was a few months ago, the Hawks, and I raised this in my book 3 years ago, the Hawks had still has not one single chartered accountant, forensic auditor in their service. Now, how on earth are you going to be investigating highly complex crimes like this? Never mind building a case that you can go and unpack in front of a judge in a court of law that will stand up against the legion of opposition counsel international tax experts that will be brought into dance circles around you. So, frankly, I'm afraid the capacity in our state and the justice system is severely lacking, particularly when it comes to these incredibly complex cases, which requires, massive amounts of skill to actually tackle.
Yeah, absolutely. It requires specialist knowledge, people who know how the industry works to show where things went wrong. I mean, James, you and I talked about this some months ago again, and what does this say for the billions of rand in pension funds that have been lost? These incremental steps that are being taken now in Germany to get to the bottom of Steinhoff's scandal, does it say anything for recovering that money?
Look, I'm the Grinch this morning, so I'm sorry, Michelle. No, I don't believe it does. The only thing that we can hope for is some accountability and some justice. I don't foresee any money being recovered. We're speaking about, about 300 billion rand in value wiped out, not only at Steinhoff, but across a range of companies, including a company like ShopRite, which lost a lot of its value on the back of the excuse me, the moment that that someone like Christo Wiese was massively tainted at the time. So immediately all the companies linked to him, like ShopRite, lost a lot of value just by virtue of being linked to Steinhoff. So that value has been destroyed. It's not coming back, certainly not the Steinhoff value. The share is still languishing quite a lot down from where it was around about 95 rand at one stage.
Yeah.
And it's certainly not going to anywhere be near that ever again, in my view.
James, I want to, because this conversation has been so Grinch-worthy, I want to perhaps, look to the future and say, is there a possibility that this is a story we're going to see unravel in the years to come? Or is it a case of us thinking the worst? Because at the very least, our law enforcement agencies, as far as we know, haven't even traveled to Germany for that part of the investigation.
Yeah, look, I think we've seen in my view, we've seen a bit of what we can expect. So you'll see settlements. So there's a lot of litigation, ongoing litigation against the company Steinhoff, which continues to trade. So a lot of settlement negotiations being reached with those litigators, trying to make them go away by paying them a couple of rand or whatever the case might be. So you might see some settlements out of court, a lot of backroom transactions being done just to try to make it all go away. You've seen Deloitte come out and I think they offered to pay a penalty or a fine or something because, they were the auditors for more than 25 years. So you see all these entities sort of getting their ducks in a row. But with regards to criminal proceedings, time is going to have to tell. I just, maybe in 10 years' time, we might finally see someone who's done enough research into this thing to be able to take a case to court. I don't know, but you've got to remember you're going to go up against a guy who's still very much a billionaire. All of the people named are very wealthy individuals, global individuals around the world. And it must be said, it is a massively complex matter. And it's so, for example, it's impossible to compare it to something like VBS Bank. So lots of people would say, but why so much action against VBS Bank? It's a completely different animal. Okay, you've got multiple jurisdictions. You've got a company involved in, I think it was 100 countries. So it is massively complex. But we certainly need greater updates. We certainly need the authorities to do more. And in my view, they've been grossly, negligent in terms of not doing much, or at least not keeping us updated. And I certainly hope that we see some sort of outcome and some sort of justice. But look, I'm not holding my hopes out. I think that we might see some smaller fish frying, and that might be what's happening here in Germany, for something that might be tax-related or whatever the case might be. But I don't expect much at the moment, and I hope to be proven wrong. Yeah,
let's hope at worst we're not being kept up to speed about some of the things that are happening behind the scenes to get to the bottom of this. You've written one book about it, another one coming?
We'll have to wait and see, Michelle. Thank you for asking, but not at the moment. Not at the moment, but we'll have to. Maybe down the line we can do another story, and maybe we'll see what happens.
Well, the story is certainly there. James, thanks as always for coming onto the show. James Brent-Styan is author of the book Steinhoff, Inside SA's Biggest Corporate Crash. And that's as German prosecutors say they are ready to charge former Steinhoff executives for what was known as the biggest financial scandal in South African history. No clarity around who those people might be. James, thanks very much indeed.